All right, Jackie. Hello, everybody. We're going to mix it up a little bit tonight. So can you guess where Jackie is? Like, where's Waldo? Where's Jackie? All right, you got to hold up your pineapple, too. You got to hold up your pineapple to give them a... Yes, so Jackie is still in Hawaii, guys. And my name is Sherry Ward, and welcome to Hope After the Landslide. And I'm here with Jackie Van Workum, and we're going to switch things up a little bit tonight and just do a Q&A. And we want you to, the first thing we want to do is just welcome you, and we just are so thankful that you guys are in the community. I know that it's just such a hard thing to go through that landslide, and we just want to say thank you. Thank you for just even showing up, because sometimes just showing up is hard. So we just want to say thank you, and if you could, in the comments, we would love for you to say where you're from. That way we can see where you're calling from. Sorry, my phone.
Not on the line.
On my line. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, call back. So go ahead and just tell us where you're from, and that way we'll get a feel for it. Also, there'll be links above this broadcast for the Grieving Moms groups, which are 12-week support groups for any mom that is grieving over the loss of a child for whatever reason. So, sorry, I think my husband's very persistent.
This is Landslide, ladies.
I don't even know how to do this. So, anyway. So, Jackie, you got a couple words to say right now?
Do I have any couple words to say?
Yeah. Do you want to say a couple words right now?
Well, I would like to say hi to Sarah and hi to Mary and hi to Kathy. And thank you guys, as they say in Hawaii, they say mahalo for joining us here. And this is a blessing to be here. I will say that this helps me to clear my mind, and wherever that may take you, to just make sure we continue to look for that self-care. But Sherry is going to take over tonight and allow me to be able to sit back, relax, and hopefully you guys can have some questions to ask in the midst of things. And Sarah's calling from Florida. Awesome, Sarah.
How do you even see? I'm trying to find out where everybody's from.
Sherry is not only my
people are from.
She's the co-author, writer of the resurfacing book, but you know what? I have to teach her a lot of stuff about
Yes,
this.
she does. She has to teach me. So, all right. Well, let's kick it off. I know, Jackie, that you had a verse that you wanted to share tonight from Proverbs, and it's Proverbs 2:1-5. Did you want to go ahead and kick us off and read that scripture tonight?
And it is rather lengthy, ladies, so I'm going to read it. My son, if you accept my words and store up my commands within you, turning your ear to wisdom and applying your heart to understanding, and if you call out for insight and cry aloud for understanding, and if you look for it as for silver and search for it as hidden treasure, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. And that is Proverbs 2:1-5. And the reason that I felt God just chose that tonight was because I want for you to gain the wisdom and the knowledge and the understanding as much as possible as to what to do after this horrific landslide, after losing your child.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like the understanding and knowledge, because sometimes we just don't know what to do when we have that grieving brain, and we're kind of lost sometimes.
Amen to that.
So I know along kind of with that grieving brain and stuff, when we were writing the book, we talked about spindrift thoughts, and those thoughts, and that we thought that would be a good analogy with the landslide. Do you want to talk a little bit more about the spindrift thoughts and how that plays into grief and when we're grieving over the loss of a child?
Yes, thank you, Sherry. You ladies are so familiar with it. Spindrift, aka probably anxiety and depression. There are thoughts that come into our mind in the midst of our grieving state, and I could, like I always say, I could go into a whole thing about the psychology, but obviously we won't do that right now, maybe later. But what happens is, of course, the brain is really being protected through this. But what comes in are all these crazy thoughts. I mean, you may say, gosh, I wish that, I could be going on to heaven now that I've lost my child. You can have be revisited back to the day that the landslide happened. Or you just, all of a sudden, I will just say the other day, I was out in this beautiful island, and I saw a little boy that was about, I don't know, 2, and he was there with his daddy, and I looked at that little boy, and I all of a sudden started breathing hard. I realized that I was thinking, my gosh, I had Randy at that age, and I just wish that I could have kept him in that place, and that he would still be here.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what do you do when those spindrift thoughts come into our mind? Because they are going to. And if we have to give Satan any credit, it's just that's part of the nature of it, because he does not want to see us recover from this.
I like what you said. And also for the spindrifts, you know, that scripture that says, take every thought captive. I think sometimes we're just like, oh, well, it's just going to hit me, and oh, it's okay. Yeah. And I think there may be some of that is okay, but there's some of those spindrifts that are just dangerous thinking, if I could say it like that, that if we just keep, it's almost like a groove in the road, that as we keep thinking and we keep thinking, that we're digging that groove deeper and deeper. Where I know in the book, I believe we put in some scriptures. So instead of thinking this, think on this. That's
what we're instructed to do in the Bible. Yes, to find your scripture, your favorite scripture, or, you know, if you don't even feel like reading, just grab a friend and, you know, or, you know, someone at church, and just ask them to sit with you. And, you know, even if it's just to, you know, to massage your back, your neck, your shoulders, and just calm you down. And we also in the book talk about a way to relieve anxiety, starting from your head down to your toes. And I shared that last week on the Facebook Live.
Oh, that's right, because you did that head to toe thing last week. That's awesome. I also remember just being in the Grieving Moms group, and how women were saying they just kept rehearsing over and over and over the day or night that it happened. And it just seems like they just relive it over and over and over again. And that can also be a spindrift thought, don't you think?
Yeah, oh, for sure. And it's going to happen. You know, there's pros and cons to revisiting that. I mean, I think that you have to have it in a healthy place, to where, again, you're with someone, and that you're reading God's word, again, having a scripture that, you know, you're able to hold up and defend in that moment of going into this dark, dark place. It's just normal to revisit it, because it was so catastrophic. It's so surreal. And you keep going into many things. You even start blaming yourself. And we can talk about that later. Forgiveness.
Yeah. So what would you recommend? Would you recommend, like, when they're in that spot of revisiting and revisiting and revisiting, that they get themselves out of that and pick like their favorite scripture and just start saying that one over and over again to kind of change the tape? Or what would you suggest?
Well, I mean, truly, the simplicity of getting out of that is just to, if you can, just go outside and walk. If it's like in the middle of the night, you know, get up and with your spouse, or call a friend, like I said. Realistically, just going outside and taking a walk, you know, open up the window, put your head out the window. I mean, unless you're in Minnesota and you just had this large amount of snow dumped on you, but just do something to change gears a little bit. Just get.
Oh, that's a good idea. Just to kind of snap you out of it and to do something different, just to get a different focus going.
And just as a side note, you know, I have horses, and the thing that they do is they go into a fight or flight. What we do is we go into a flight. We want to run from it, right? And so we go into this spindrift, and then we're not in our cognitive part of our brain. We're in this place of survival, right? And what I do with my horse is, honestly, I have to kind of just gently tap him on the head as I'm riding when he gets frightened of something, to be like, to get him to start to think like, hey, somebody hit me in the head, but that takes him back to his head.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's a great idea.
There's nothing scary. It's already happened. Bring yourself back to the cognitive. It's just the body's response after trauma is what you're experiencing.
Okay. I like that idea. Because we always talk about triggers, but there's ways I think that we can have positive triggers. Because I know sometimes in our experiences, it's like you with that father and that little boy, it was like a trigger, and it brought back a memory, and then you went in that place. So is there a way maybe to switch the triggers and to like have a good trigger? Because I know I've set some things up in my own life that when I see it, there's certain things that God does to pull me back to him, and it's like a good trigger, if I could say it like that.
I think that the immediate thing to do would be to take in a breath. Every time we take in a breath, we can bring in gratitude. And we can be thankful that we had our child even for a very short amount of time, which I know is very difficult. We can reflect on in that moment, say, for instance, we took our kids on a lot of vacations right here in Hawaii. I've got a luau that happens every single night outside of my window. And it reminds me, not only my son, but my mother have both passed. And I think about like those people are down there with all their loved ones. And then I just go, nope, don't go that way. Go into the place of, we had some amazing laughs and good times. And I know that it made everybody happy. There was a togetherness of the family. There's a bond that was created. It's very, I don't want to say it's very easy to, but you can. You just have to take a deep breath. Like I said, change gears, snap out of it, go out of the flight into the cognitive.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I remember somebody says that you don't, they said what did they say? It's something about the behavior that you behave your way into a new way of thinking.
I like that.
And they did this example. It was a really interesting example with some Japanese businessmen who were very more serious culturally. And they were trying to get them to be creative and to break out of kind of that seriousness. So the consultant actually had them put clean underwear on their head and walk around for the rest of the day like that, because it was like forcing them, not that I want you guys to all walk around with underwear on your head, but it was forcing them in a behavior to come out of whatever that was. So would there be anything that you could suggest besides the underwear, obviously, but is there anything that you would suggest maybe to kind of behave your way into a new way of thinking, that there would be something that you could do?
I mean, that what they did was they brought in laughter. And when we smile, even if there's nothing at the moment to laugh at, I know it really seems very crazy, but if you smile, you're going to release the endorphins and the chemicals in your body that bring. It's a lot of times people, if you've ever heard somebody that laughs uncomfortably when something bad happens, and it's because when you smile, you're going to release the happy hormone. So sometimes you're just going to have to smile and just can take in that deep breath and say, you know what, maybe that little boy reminded me of my son, but maybe I can just reflect back on the fact that, he is in heaven, or that I have the rest of my children, my grandchildren to love on. God has given me my heart still beating. I still have purpose here on this earth. And I know that takes discipline, ladies. And you can't say this, I will try, because trying says you're not displaying the amount of confidence that you have in God. Trying is saying, I can also find a way out of it. Say, I will.
Right. I like that. I like that a lot. And I know that you had mentioned earlier too, sometimes we even blame ourselves for what happened to our child. Like if only I had gotten him to the doctor sooner, or if only, I had been watching at the pool when he fell in, or whatever it may be, like, fill in the blank. So how do we deal with that sometimes with forgiveness? Because sometimes we're even trying to forgive ourselves, or even maybe it's somebody close to us, like a spouse or another child that we have that maybe did something that we need to forgive. So how important is that, and how do we do that?
It's vital. It's not just important, it's vital to our healing, because first of all, forgiveness of ourselves, there's no condemnation. Jesus said there's no condemnation, and you can't blame. You can't bring them back, first of all. And I will say that when you forgive yourself, you forgive someone else, whether it's your spouse, you said whoever else is involved. We have moms that have had, someone accidentally, hit their child on a motorcycle, or accidents, all different reasons. Have you not, told my son to leave because I'm so mad at him, and then they overdosed. The day that you start to heal is the day that you have forgiveness for yourself and for those other people. You don't have to. You love them. You can despise their sin, but you still have to love them the way that Christ did, as hard as that is. But when you say, Jesus said that, forgive them, for they know not what they do. But primarily the big thing is, I hear moms always saying, if I woulda, coulda, shoulda. And,
right.
You can't do that. I mean, how does that serve you? It doesn't serve us. So the day you forgive yourself and others is the day that your healing is actually going to begin.
Awesome. Awesome. So I'd love to talk to you guys, you ladies out there as well. It's like, how many of you are dealing with the woulda, coulda, shouldas? And do any of you have some ideas of things that you've done to kind of pull yourself out of that, or even some of the triggers and those spindrift thoughts? So go ahead and write those in the comments. So if any of you have any ideas for that, or you're still struggling with the woulda, coulda, shouldas, or maybe just being honest and saying, look, I'm having a hard time forgiving. I'm having a hard time forgiving different people. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much for just being honest, because that's what we're all about here, is just being honest and transparent and just being a safe place, because Grieving Moms is a safe community. So if you have, I just want to call your attention that we do have these 12-week groups. So if you haven't done that yet, please, ladies, please sign up. It'll be the best thing that you've ever done. And sometimes, again, just show up. Sometimes that just is everything, and it takes a lot to get to that point. But if you just show up, then I think your healing will begin. It's like you'll begin to be in a community of women who get it. And when you're going through something like a landslide and something so severe, you just need to be surrounded, not just with people that have loss, but specifically other moms that have lost children. I think there's just something powerful in that. What do you think, Jackie?
I do, and I also want to say hi to Michelle. Michelle is co-hosting with me in my live group in Southern California, and I see the other Marys out there. Thanks, you guys, for being here in Darnell. I will say that the groups, gosh, where do I start with the groups? The groups, think about it this way, ladies. If you are every day, if you're like ready, if you're saying, well, I'm praying about a time to start, okay? In all fairness, that's exactly what you need to do. Pray about when it is that you need to start. But there is so much more anxiety every single day you wake up and you think about, today's the day. Oh my gosh, today's the day. I said I was going to commit to being in a live group or being in an online group. And then you decide, oh, I can't do it. I'm too afraid. I'm too ashamed. I'm not ready to share the story. Well, then guess what? You wake up the next morning, you have the same anxiety and everything. So it's up to you to be able to decide when you want to stop that. Because like Sherry said, the hardest part is showing up. Once you show up, and I will just say again, from my experience and the other moms that have been leading groups, once these women show up, whether their face is on the screen, on the computer, they physically show up, you are so welcome and embraced and these happy tears. And then you're going to be able to breathe. And like I said, same thing with forgiveness. The moment that you are going to start healing is the moment that you start to serve yourself in a positive way and to give back. That we are designed, ladies, to be in relationship with others. That's what Jesus' whole ministry was about when he was here on this earth, is to be in a relationship, right?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I remember being in the group, and it was about maybe week 3 or week 4. The women just had such a different countenance, and you could see that they were even laughing a little bit, and there was some laughter and crying. And so it wasn't just all completely down. It was like there was this camaraderie that women just were instant lifelong friends. And I think that's just so important to have your search and rescue team. And I know that we talked about that in the book, and how some people rally behind you and become your search and rescue team, and some just kind of go off and don't become that. And I don't think I fault those ones that don't. They just weren't meant to be there. So do you want to talk about, getting that search and rescue team together?
Well, the first thing you need to do is to say, I need. And I always say this to you ladies, that that's the hardest thing for us women to do, especially as moms. Our maternal instinct is to always be looking out for the well-being of our family members, spouses, siblings, whatever it is. We're always last in line. We are last in the line of being taken care of. So if you just say, I need, because you're going to get a lot of people initially. You all remember that moment when this horrific landslide happened, and everybody offered, they sent cards, and they would write in there, let me know if there's anything I can do. Well, they don't know what to do for a host of different reasons. So you have to have the God confidence to be able to call them, write them, email them. And actually, why don't you even think about if there's someone that's very much in your life, like, it's like looking into my friend Kathy, she actually just took on the role of being, and she never was in that leadership desire before, to say, I'm gonna take all these people that have offer to help you, and I'm going to get their contact information, send out, and they're going to say, all of a sudden their gifts start showing up. Well, I can cook, I can clean, I can go pick up groceries, I can take, what.
That's awesome. That's so good.
And just be confident enough to say this is what you need.
All right, so ladies, let's just practice that right now. I know that sounds funny, but let's just practice that in the comments. What do you need right now? Maybe you just need a hug. Maybe you just need a kind word. Maybe you just need somebody to pick you up right now. Whatever it is, can you just go through those, and on the comments just write, I need. I know that's just so foreign to us women to even ask. So this isn't a safe place where we can just say, hey, I need. And if we don't get to you right now, we will be looking at all the comments after the broadcast. So we'll make sure that Jackie will go through and answer any of the questions that you have, any comments that you have. We'll make sure that we go through all those comments. So just practice and say, I need. What do you need right now? And it may change because tomorrow you may need something else.
Yeah.
Every day is different.
And don't be afraid to say, I need to have no one come over for the day. I need to.
Oh, that's good too. That's really good.
Come in. But again, my whole point always is to say, don't be by yourself. It's like, don't, what am I going to say? Don't isolate yourself, because that's the place where the darkness is able to come in. Can we take a pause here, Mary? Because I want to say, or to Sherry, because Mary's saying, I'm not looking forward to Mom's Day. That was Tom and I's special time together. And I will come back and address all these personally, because I don't want to just throw something out there, Mary.
Yeah, Michelle, I like your comment too, that you held on to God's sovereignty and remember that nothing passes by him, and that really helped you. I think that's great. And Laura, welcome from Mexico. Awesome.
Yes. Hola.
Hola.
That's as far.
I know also, like, what we need may be different from what our husbands need, or from what the other siblings need. So can you talk a little bit about the family dynamics and how that works?
Yeah, and I will first start off by saying that, again, as the mom, we tend to want to get in there and try to bring the Band-Aid or bring the first aid kit to everybody's individual needs. Again, putting ourselves last. And, men especially grieve differently. They may not want to talk about it. They may just want to stuff it. Men are not face-to-face. They are side-to-side communicators. And they may not want that hug. They may just want to go out with their buddies and, go hit a bucket of balls at the golf course, or they may want to go to the baseball game. And we can't force them to say, you don't want to talk about this? I mean, many times I have said, I need you to talk to me about how you're feeling. And it's a very delicate balance. The siblings of our child that passed, especially, my boys, chose to kind of keep it to themselves. I've always been the mom that wants them to bring to the surface how they're feeling. I think that that's also a very delicate balance. I just know how unhealthy that it is, but you have to respect them where they are. I will just really say that, and just keep loving on them, because when they can, they will address it. But you'll notice the signs, right? We're going to notice the signs, Sherry, of, I notice the signs of, my sons when maybe their coping mechanisms were not healthy, or maybe when they started to spend so much time by themselves, all of a sudden I didn't hear from them. I had to go to their home, and I had to make sure that everything was okay, because then of course you've got this, like, you are going to protect yourselves from experiencing any.
It's almost like you're on a heightened alert for your kids because something happened to one of them, and now you're like, oh my gosh. And then just this heightened alert towards the other ones because you want to make sure that they're okay.
Absolutely.
And I think Sarah says that she honestly doesn't know what she needs. And I think that's okay too. I think, sometimes we don't know what we need. But when we do, then I think we just need to speak up and say it, even though it's hard and that's very foreign to us, because that's the way that we can get what we need throughout this process. And I know that sometimes, not just the needs of other people, but dealing with other people. I know that that's one of the sections we talk about in the book is, how do you deal with people that say, forgive me, but kind of stupid things to you, like, oh, you just got another little angel in heaven. It's like, oh, really? Really, you're going to tell me that? So how do you deal with some of the hard things that people say. I mean, they don't always say it, you know, with a bad heart, but it just, some of the things just don't come out right.
Typically their heart is in the right place. I mean, I have never met anybody that has come from a place of intentionally desiring to hurt. I mean, there are those people that will do that, and they have their own challenges. But I will say, think about yourself. Think about yourself. If you can take a moment after maybe someone does say something to you, pause for a moment. There's so much power in pausing before you say anything. Think about what would I say? What would I say if I walked up to my friend or someone that I know that just lost their child? There is no way you're going to ever be able to understand that at all until it happens. And thankfully, it's not going to probably happen to the majority of people. But when it does, do you think, I just have walked up to people and given them a hug. I mean, as a grieving mom now, I know what I need. So therefore, you can spend time in saying thank you so much. And I understand that there's no words that you know to share with me at this point in time. And, you know, I don't have an angel in heaven, because that's, I mean, you can go into the whole, that's not doctrine or whatever, that's all that. But
yeah, it doesn't really work if you try to lecture them on how that was not a proper thing to say. So
no, it's not, because you don't want to make them feel even worse than they do already. You just
right.
say and hug them, and then let it go. You know, honestly, there's no sense in getting yourself worked up when they say something wrong, because again, that is not their intentions. Majority of people.
Right.
Yeah.
So ladies, what are some of the things how have you dealt with people that have said kind of stupid things to you, or just hurtful things, or just what seems like uncaring, because they just didn't realize it? So how are some of the ways that you have dealt with that? Because I think if we put those in the comments, then that will help the other women in the community get ideas, because we all have some great ideas of ways that we've handled different things. Yeah. So Jackie, I know also that you have some suggestions and steps for healing through the grieving process. So do you want to share those?
Yeah, and I don't want to just blow through them, you know, so quick, because I do find that I spend some time in, you know, really looking at these to know, because oftentimes people say, gosh, you seem to be doing so well, and, you know, what is it? Are you over it? Or are you like, and I'm never going to be over it, first of all.
Right.
None of it. But if I could share a couple, and then Sherry had suggested, because there are some, and I may even do another video just on this, but if you want to have this sent to you, you can always just write in there, what did we say?
In the comments.
In the comments.
Steps.
Steps.
See? Just put steps in the comments, and then we'll go ahead and send them to you in the comments back.
I'm going to do just a couple in the very beginning. So I want you to now just take your hand and put it over your heart. Do a check-in with yourself, you know, and just say, again, this is what I need right now. This is what I need today. Every day you're going to have to do a check-in with yourself, to where you're going to find out, where is my heart right now? I need to sleep. I haven't eaten really. And again, I talked about making sure you're feeding yourself. You go in and do a check. And then gather your trusted friends and your community to help you and your family. That's, again, your search and rescue team. This is another step in the process. And they're not necessarily in any order, but I guess they kind of came out in an order that I felt was really important. But to continue attending church. I remember after Randy took his life that we went to church. Like, it happened on a Friday night, and we were at church like right away. Like, we were in church on Sunday. Like, it just happened.
But is that hard though? Because you've got everybody coming up to you. Is that kind of hard?
It wasn't for us, because I think that just intuitively people knew, but what we needed was to be loved on by our community. Our church family just wanted to love on us. They didn't ask us to say anything. They didn't ask us to share the story. I just remember that was the moment that my church family became so vitally important, even more so than it has been.
And I remember, along with that point, Jackie, I remember Jeannie in the group had talked about when she didn't want to share her story, that she actually typed it up. And for all you ladies, I thought that was a brilliant idea, where she actually typed up what happened. So if she wasn't in a place, and she just put a bunch in her purse, and if she was in a place where she wasn't quite ready to share, she would just hand them the letter. And I thought that's a good idea.
She was a checker at a grocery store. So, of course, she's got customer after customer, and she just couldn't do it anymore. Thank you, Darnell, for saying it would be absolutely lost without church. And then, of course, join a Grieving Moms Finding Help group, to link arms with other moms, in addition to that, because no one's going to understand, how you're feeling except for another mom. And then God, this is very important. I want you to really take this in. Aside from placing your hand over your heart, I want you to know that God used words to create the heavens and the earth. So what it is that you say is going to be so vitally important. The spindrifts come in, and the spindrifts will be like, well, I'll try to be more hopeful, and I will try to eat, and it's not a game. She's demonstrating confidence. Sherry also sells stocks and bonds on the side.
I'm sorry about that. I don't know how to
what you say is, I'm kidding. What you say is, if you're saying, I'll try, or I'll never get through this, why did this have to happen to me? Those are statements that are not serving you. You have to do that. As hard as it is, the feeling will come after that.
And I think when we talked about the spindrift, those things that just keep mulling over your head, it goes from your head to your mouth. And once you speak those, you give them life. So like you said, just doing something different to get you out of that mind frame, to get you out of that position. Sorry.
Right.
You know what I mean? It would just get you out of that. So I know that you've got 10 of them. So maybe what we could do is possibly take another time where we could talk about the 10 and go in more depth. But if you guys would like to know what the 10 steps were that Jackie put together, in the comments, go ahead and write steps, and we'll go ahead and send it right back to you in the comments. So look for that. And then also, if you'd like to join a 12-week support group for grieving moms, we would love, love, love to have you. I know that it would just be amazing towards your health and your healing, and just to know that you're not alone. You are not alone. There's a community of women that are here for you, ready to wrap their arms around you, ready to welcome you. And those links will be at the top to click and find out more information and dates. We have both local groups and online groups. So thank you so much, Jackie, for sharing today. It was fun to do a role reversal from Hawaii.
Really
so do we say aloha, or what do we say?
Well, we say aloha, and mahalo is the thank you. And there's so many different little things. They love vowels here. It's like, what street are you on? Makua, ala, apu, a, u. And it's like, okay. But I want to end with this, which is that God has designed each and every one of you with your own best answers. He has inside of you your own best answers. When you start arguing with yourself and contemplating, you know that that's not from God. And this is another thing to ponder. You draw in your own medicine. So what is that it is that you need? All of a sudden, it's like that desire. All of a sudden, you're going to have those right people around you. You're going to have those right moments around you. It's like all of a sudden, those needs that you're feeling within you. It's like my own search and rescue team showed up, and I never expected it to be those people. What you've invested out in the world in this community, as far as like your equity of like what you've done for other people, all of a sudden, it starts to be displayed right before your very own eyes.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome. So we want to say thank you for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. And again, any kind of comments that you have, any questions, again, we talked about what you need. And I think Jackie's going to go out in a song tonight. And again, the links are at the top to sign up for a group.
I'm not going to sing because that would really scare all of you. But anyway, I'm coming home on Friday, and I don't want to come home, but I've been learning to play this little gem. And silly as it is, this is a little bit of my therapy. But I look forward to seeing you guys next week and to speak with you guys. I'm going to go on the comments here. I see a lot of people with the steps. That blesses me. Thank you so much, because I want to be able to be instrumental in helping you. So God bless each and every one of you. I love you.
God bless. Aloha. Mahalo. Until next week. Bye.
Until next week.